And welcome back, everyone. I think that I'm live now. Again, some small difficulties with OBS, but now I think it should be okay. So let me know if everything works well. I can already see some people in chat, so welcome to everyone who's joining. Again, we're back with the stream, and yeah, for now I'm just setting up everything, but I think it should be all right. Hey Vlad, welcome back to the stream. Great to have you back. So again, everything is working well. That's fantastic. So welcome back, everyone. Today we're again gonna go through some games from Prague Masters. Welcome Omar to the stream. So we're just gonna wait a little bit until everyone is here. Everyone who wants to watch. And yeah, in the meanwhile, nothing much has happened since yesterday. Yesterday was another pretty nice stream, I think. So in the last couple of days, we just went over the games from the Prague Masters, and I'm just giving you my thoughts basically on the openings and on the games. So welcome everyone, welcome to the stream. So one Leech's 5-minute match till we wait. Yeah, we can do that. You can send me a challenge and we'll play one game. But let's have it unrated. Let's play unrated. Don't want to lose all my rating to you, man. I'm sure you're way too strong for me. So you can send me an invite to my account, Fablo. Yeah, let's play one game against Nexus Knight. Let me just pull up the scene. So let's play one viewer match while we wait for other people to join in. Yeah, I accepted. So let's try it. How many victories do you think will Gurel score in the Masters? Well, so far I think he has had quite of a rough start, which is quite logical, since it's I think his first time basically that he's playing such a strong event. So I definitely hope he's gonna score some wins. Of course, he's extremely talented, and yeah, just a very strong player overall, and he's only 13, I think, so far. So yeah. Definitely wishing all the best to Gurel. Definitely. Let's go here. Is that account just created? I'm not sure, but somebody guys has been in the chat for quite some time already, so I do trust him. I do trust him. Do you mainly play on Leeches, or do you play on chess.com? Usually on Leeches. In general, I'm not playing that much online chess. Recently, at least. But if I play, I mostly prefer Leeches. So yeah. Your original account has your real name. All right. So welcome everyone who joined the stream. Welcome Michael Horia. Welcome who I am forever. Nice to have you guys join in the stream. So what's going on here? I'm gonna take here. So again, we're just playing one viewers match, and then we're gonna jump to the Prague Masters, where I'm gonna give you some of my thoughts on what's happening there, basically. Queen d6. So in this game, you managed to play against his light squared bishop. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm playing for. His bishop on b7 is a little bit passive. So that's kind of my game plan here. So we have this Carlsbad structure here where black's pawn on c7 is usually a little bit weak. And therefore I assume he's trying to prepare c5. Now I could go a b4 in this position to play against his plan. I could do that. But instead I'm just gonna go rook d1 here. Probably I should have went b4 perhaps. You managed to play against his light squared bishop on b7. Yeah, that was kind of the idea. Hi Angel, welcome to the stream. It's nice to have you back. Been a long time. Hope you're doing well. So let's play e3. Are you playing viewers? Yeah, but just one game. We can definitely make that to some sort of tradition in the future, but just one game for now. And then we're gonna jump to the Prague Masters tournament, where I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts on what's happening there. So I think I'm a bit better here. Just this structure is usually a little bit unpleasant for black, with the pawn still already being on b6. So yeah. I'm gonna go rook c2, then maybe rook c1. Yeah, doing great. I enrolled in chess classes now. Happy to hear that. That's nice. Chess classes, like you hired a personal coach, or you're going to some group classes? How are you doing that? I'm curious. So let me know. Is a4, a5 an idea? Yeah, that could also be an idea. But if I play a4, he could also play a5 himself. So yeah. Now I'm gonna go for this idea. That's often a plan, knight d1, knight d3. Maybe not doing that much here, but sometimes my knight can jump to f4. And I'm also opening up the bishop on g2. Can you post some videos on English opening, King's English variation? Not sure what that is, but English opening, yeah, perhaps I can make a video of that. Which Grandmaster games? Well, recently the English opening, starting with 1c4, has been quite popular anyway. So I think there will be many games for you to study. Like Vincent Keymer plays a lot of English. I can remember a lot of games by Anish Giri as well. So there are a couple of them. Also Hikaru played it quite often. So I think I'm a little bit better here, and actually now I'm gonna go for this plan a4, a5, because I think now it's a bit different since he cannot go a5 himself. So now it's certainly an option here at least. Yeah, bishop a6 is a nice move. He had to play that. And now, do I go back? I really don't want him to exchange that bishop. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, man. Ah, you joined the club, Angel. Okay, that's nice too. Yeah, chess clubs are always great. Of course, the issue is many people live in areas where there are maybe no chess clubs, but in most somewhat bigger cities, you have an opportunity to join that. So I would recommend that basically to everyone to join a club like that, since you just get to know some people there who you can also practice with. Perhaps you can find a coach there. So it's always nice to join chess clubs. Which is your favorite chess game in general? Now he played b5, which probably in this position he had to, but now he has all these all these weak squares, like I can get into c5. So now I have a major positional advantage here. So which is my favorite chess game in general? Well, I have this tendency to like positional and strategical chess. So hard to say. I mean, this is a horrible response, but I really enjoyed some of AlphaZero's games. I know that's a bad reply. By the way, I have some nice tactics here, perhaps. I think this works. Let me just think for one moment here. Not entirely sure yet. I gotta work this out now. So bishop d5, I'm calculating c5. Not entirely sure about it. So I'm just gonna play it slow. Bishop takes d5, I didn't like c5, and there were some crazy things there. So I'm just gonna take it slow. So anyway, about your question, favorite game, I really love the AlphaZero's games. Even though, again, that's kind of a bad reply. By the way, I'm winning an exchange here. But some of AlphaZero's games have been really nice to watch. Other than that, yeah, many of Magnus' games are, of course, very enjoyable. But yeah. So let's go here. I'm up an exchange, so this should be a more or less clean win here. And on top of that, they have other goals, which is nice. Yeah, that's always important as well, because like in chess clubs, of course, most of the people there are men in most cases. So I'm sure it's great to have some people there who are the same gender as you. Makes it more enjoyable, I'm sure. So yeah, let's try to finish this off. I think I can take here. Yeah, that's a nice detail as well. And now it should be more or less easy to win this game. So I'm just gonna finish this, and then I'm gonna answer a couple more of your questions for sure. And I have queen takes e6 and game over. Queen f7 and queen h7 mate. Thank you, Nexus Knight, for the game. Just gonna give you my brief. We can't see your time. Thank you for letting me know. So yeah. Anyway, not much has happened time-wise in this game, but thank you for telling me. So in this game, we're just gonna briefly go over. Usually, you don't want to place the knight to c6 in the queen's gambit, because mostly black wants to play c5 first and then to place the knight here. e6, bishop g2, and now he went b6 again. If you do this fianchetto, you don't really like to have the knight here, so a better option would be to play b6 right away, for example. Bishop g2, bishop b7, and now we have the queen's Indian, e6, for example. And then c5, and only then knight c6. This is kind of what black wants to do. So yeah, any questions about this game after that? So castle bishop b7, and now we see kind of the issue with the knight here, that he wants to play c5, but he can't. Do you play viewers? It was only that game, and then we're gonna go to the Prague Masters. So we had this position now. Here you played very logical and nice looking moves. Knight g6, the knight is perhaps not doing as much here. I think perhaps you should try and go for c5 at some point, just to be able to break out a little bit here. And if I don't do anything, you might be able to push c4. And if I take now, Probably white is still a bit better because these pawns can be a little bit weak, but at least you have some activity perhaps. So yeah, perhaps c5 here. And here, yeah, I just doubled my rooks. And again, this is quite a nice idea to keep in mind. And it seems like it was also pretty good. Now a4, not the only move, but I still like it. Knight e1. Didn't want you to trade that bishop, since now we see the bishop is completely stuck here. And b5, but honestly, I don't see what else he could do at this moment. So it already looks quite bad here, because b5 now the c5 square is weak. And yeah, here, by the way, here I was calculating bishop d5, but I wasn't sure of c5, rook c5, and now bishop takes d5. I have to take on c7, take back, and now queen e4, and all of a sudden it could be that even black is winning. So that looked a little bit scary. And yeah, here it's just a positional win. Also, like rook d7 blunders the exchange, but otherwise I will simply slowly improve my position. Like I could go back with the queen, then knight b4. So this is should be a technical win for white, but bishop h3 gave me the exchange, and now I also won the pawn on d5, and then it was more or less technical win. So thank you again for the game. Thank you again for the game. Now I'm gonna go back to you guys. So Angel, again, nice that you found a cool chess club there. I'm really happy for you about that. Hope that everything else is going well for you as well. Again, I'm very happy that you're back on the channel. So yeah, about the game, if there are no more other questions, we will go to the Prague Masters in just a second. We got one more question. Do you ever watch the computer tournaments Twitch stream? It's nonstop. No, I have not. Sometimes I went to this website to, I don't know, to have a look, like how it looks, but also the website in general looks quite poor, like the design overall. But some of the games I do watch, like I sometimes download the games from these computer championships, but they're also not that great. Like the only ancient games which really influenced me, I can say, are the games by AlphaZero, basically. Which openings I often play? Well, as white, I usually play the ready with knight f3, which I also made a course about. So I really love that opening, just because it's very positional. And with black, I also tend to be quite solid today. Play a lot of e4, e5 with black, sometimes the French, and against d4 some solid queen's gambits in most cases. Yeah, as white, I have the course on the knight f3 ready. Yeah, that's a good observation, and it's also one of my favorite openings at the same time as well. So yeah. Yeah, Aravindh is doing great in the Prague Masters. So let's jump to that. Let's go here. And we already have one result, and I was thinking that the games are slowly heating up now, perhaps because we are going into time trouble pretty soon. So that's why I wanted to do this right now. Usually around 6 p.m. the games are heating up because they started 3 hours ago. So Angel, again, good luck for your competitions, for your hopefully soon upcoming competitions. Hope you'll do well. And yeah. Are you gonna put more educational content on your channel? Yeah, I was just about to talk about that. So if you guys have some suggestions what I could do next, definitely let me know. I do have a couple of interesting topics I would like to talk about. Like when it comes to positional chess, like I showed you guys in yesterday's stream, I showed you guys this book, which I went through again a couple of days ago. It's this one right here, so I'm just gonna pull up my camera a little bit more, so you can see it. It's this one, Maneuvering the Art of Peace Play by Mark Dvoretsky, and I went through that the last couple of days, weeks, and found some very nice examples from there. So it's about well, the art of peace play, as it say, and maneuvering. So there are some super nice and instructive maneuvers in there. So I'm thinking of making a video on that. And in general, I've been thinking for quite a long time to do some sort of book reviews on YouTube. because as you might know, I absolutely love books in general, and I have I don't know how many chess books, but probably like 200 or 300 perhaps. I have to count them one day, but there are some of them there which I think are quite undervalued and people perhaps don't know so much about them, but the authors actually put in a lot of work and showed some very nice examples from there. So that would be one idea, what I could do in the future. Let me know what you think about that. That's definitely one idea. So yeah, greetings to Graz as well. Thank you for joining the stream. I hope everyone is having a good time. Hi everyone. Yeah, book is Maneuvering the Art of Peace by Dvoretsky Mark. Thank you, Keymer or Chainer. Sorry if I mispronounced that name for putting it into the chat. Hey Pikachu, long time. Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm doing well. Hope you're also doing well. Good to have you back on the channel. Hope you're gonna enjoy the stream. So we're gonna jump into the games from Prague Masters. Now I'm gonna move my camera a little bit. Let's put it here. If that's all right, let me know if that's fine. But I'm also gonna move the board here, perhaps. Like that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, Pikachu, you finished your exams. How did you do? Hope you... Well, I'm sure you crushed all of them. So... Hope all of your exams ended peacefully or successfully, I might say. Who are you the second of at Prague? Well, I will not disclose that yet. Yesterday, I said at the start of the stream that if we're gonna hit, what was it, 4,200 subs, then I might say it. But we're not as close as I would like it to be for that to happen. But you guys can take a guess who am I second. So there's Quang, Liem, there's Nguyen, Giri, Gurel, David Navara, Vidit, Sam Shankland, Aravindh, Praggnanandhaa, and Vincent Keymer. So yeah. Katis999, thank you so much for your 10 euro super. Really appreciate it. We are proud of our Austrian Grandmasters. Thank you. I'm excited to hear that. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the stream. Thank you so much. Priyanshu, really enjoy you watching. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the stream. Thank you very much. You're gonna score more than 97%. Oof. Someone has been working hard. That's good to hear. Would you rate the evil bar in life? You mean if I'm gonna use the evil bar? I might use the computer in some cases, but in most cases we're just gonna rely on my human evaluation. So don't take everything for granted. What I'm gonna say, I might miss some things, but I just want to share some of my understanding with you about like middle game structures, for example. So probably Aravindh. You think I'm working for Aravindh? Well, perhaps. Perhaps it is Gurel, yeah, maybe not. So first game, Nguyen Taiwan against Quang Liem. Nguyen, very strong grandmaster from the Czech Republic, around 2660, 2670. At the same time with David Navara, they are sometimes one of them is number one and the other one is number two. Sometimes it's the other way around. So they are quite close. When it comes to rating. Your view on the staff defense schlechter variation? Yeah, it's alright. It's a solid opening, but tends to be a little bit passive in my opinion. So in this game, Nguyen, who is by the way very, he's I think 1 year older than me, so very close to my age, against Quang Liem, who of course has been part of the world elite for many years from Vietnam. And we have this Carlsbad Carlsbad line. Queen's Gambit, quite classical. Queen's Gambit exchange variation, which Quang Liem has been playing for quite some time. He is in general a very solid player, very good strategical understanding. And he went for this line with h6 and then bishop e7. If some of you might have seen my recap from the Czech Extra League where I played bishop f5 against Gukesh's second, Radoslav Wojtaszek, grandmaster from Poland, where I did play this line with bishop f5, which is kind of a system on its own. Usually black will develop the bishop to e7 and then has a couple of ideas, sometimes with knight d7, knight f8, knight g6. That usually doesn't involve playing h6, because if you play h6, then the knight is not defended as well on g6 anymore. But one line, for example, would be bishop e7, bishop d3, short castle, knight e2, knight d7, short castle, rook e8, and then with ideas of knight f8, knight g6, or knight f8, knight e6. Those are some of the ideas. Adis is from my country. We are proud of him. So I'm assuming you're Turkish. Well, you are Turkish then. And yeah, it's great to hear that chess has gained so much popularity in Turkey. Like it's very nice to see that Edis Gurel and who, I'm really sorry, who is the other youngster who is extremely talented? It's Egis Khan is his name. I'm really like I have no idea what's wrong with me now that I forgot his name. I even played against him when he was younger. Please let me know. I'm sure you know who I mean. Yagis Khan, right? Erdogmus, Yagis Khan. That's his name, yeah. Yagis Khan Erdogmus, yeah. So these two youngsters are of course extremely strong. Like they will be, at least one of them, perhaps both of them, are going to be part of the world elite. I'm quite sure of that. So yeah. Your guess is Keymer. Okay, that's a good guess as well. We've got a couple guesses right here. Hi Linda, welcome to the stream. Finally caught a stream. Yeah, that's nice. I'm trying to stream a bit more often nowadays since I had a great time actually the last couple of days streaming. So we're gonna make that part of a routine, I'm sure. So in this game, h6 happened, Quang Liem, bishop h4, bishop e7, bishop d3. Erdogmus is 13, yeah, it's insane. Castle knight g2. So there are two type of setups for white in general in the Carlsbad. One is to go knight g2, which then in most cases is connected by playing f3 and then e4. So this is the one plan which was played in the game. And usually white will, after something like knight d7, white will always try to get f3 and e4. And those positions can actually become very dangerous very soon. Like if black doesn't do anything about this and just, let's say, ignores this, then e5 will always come. Knight has to move. And then white will get something like this, go f4, and will just basically crush black on the king side. But of course, black has his own ideas. For example, e4 often fails due to ideas like this with knight takes e4. Here, I'm not sure it works, but it might because of bishop e7, knight c3. So black is kind of trying to play with dynamics against this plan with f3 and b5. The other plan would be for white to go knight f3, which obviously now this plan with f3, e4 is not possible anymore. And with the knight on f3, white often goes for this plan on the queen side, this so-called minority attack, with b4, b5. And this is not that good with the knight on e2, because the knight on f3 is now doing a good job, possibly attacking the pawn on c6. Let's say, again, black does something like this, b5, and now the knight will come to e5 and put pressure on the pawn on c6. So if you played a minority attack, you're going to do it only with the knight on f3 in most cases. That's kind of the understanding behind it. But in the game, knight e2 happened, rook e8, short castle, and Quang Liem played a5, which is a common idea. Black is gaining some space on the queen side. And also one idea is of black that after f3, often b5 is an idea. When black wants to kick out the knight on c3, and to gain better control of the whoops, somehow the chat is always disappearing. Now I can see you guys. All right. So he's often playing b5, b4 to kick out the knight on c3, which then makes e4 less likely to happen, since the knight on c3 is not supporting this push anymore. So this often is the idea, when of course a5 is quite useful there as well. Felix doesn't white play rook c1 as soon as he can. Well, it depends. After b5, rook c1 is often an idea. Because whenever b5 is played, then the pawn c6 might become a target. That's true, of course. And in the game, a5, rook c1 happened as well. So I assume that Van was preparing already prophylactically against b5, when then, of course, the rook would be very useful on c1. But knight d7 was played, and now rook e1, which does look a little bit mysterious. Trying to work it out, what can be the idea here. I guess he's trying to prepare f3, but not entirely sure. If black goes something like knight f8, for example, does he go f3 here? There's something I don't understand. Why are so many Chinese 2400 rated players in the juniors appearing as untitled? So you mean that they don't have any FIDE titles, right? My explanation for that would be that simply some people don't want to pay for a FIDE title, because as far as I know, you have to pay for FIDE titles, and it's up to a couple of €100 as far as I know. In my case, the Austrian Federation pays for all the titles above FIDE Master. So my FIDE Master was paid, my International Master was paid for, and my Grandmaster title was paid for. But if you don't have such a nice federation as I do, then you do have to pay a couple of €100. And some people just say that they don't want to pay for an FM title because they will anyway, they're going to be IM soon. Or yeah, so I also saw one case. I think a Russian player was untitled and had a rating of like 2500 plus. So I assume his strategy might have been that he will just pay for the Grandmaster title and save a couple €100 before that. So that would be my explanation. I think they have to pay for titles. If some of you could pull it up, what is the current state of things? But as far as I know, FIDE charges a fee for FIDE titles. That was my last stand, my last info on that. So rook e1, again, this move looks a little bit mysterious. Hard to explain, I guess. Like, I was wondering what happens after knight f8. Let's see what the computer is saying. Now queen c2, so rook e1, again, having a hard time understanding that. To me, it would look more logical to perhaps play f3 right away. Yeah, rook e1 is a bit mysterious. So you grind for a title and then you need to pay wild, yeah? Yeah, that's true, but at the end of the day, FIDE is trying to make money wherever it goes, and yeah. Please tell me the payment is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Yeah, it is. It's not like a Grandmaster title is a monthly subscription. Fortunately, that would be too much. So it's a one-time payment as far as I know. But if some of you could find it on the internet, would be good to know that. Chess is an expensive sport. Yeah, that's the case for sure. Even though some sport, I mean, this applies to many sports, of course, that there are many costs there. And in other sports, I would say that it's even worse because you have to pay for a lot of equipment. Like for, I don't know, skiing or even tennis, you have to pay for your rackets very often if you don't have a huge sponsor, of course. So yeah. So rook e1, this move was played, b6, bishop g3, $350 yeah? It seems like, yeah. Yeah, I heard something like that as well. But again, I was always, I was very fortunate and still am with my Austrian Federation who always pays for that, for those titles. h3, bishop f8, and now he goes back bishop h4, queen b8, queen c2, bishop a6, trading this quite passive bishop on b7 again. That's kind of what I had in my viewer game before against Nexus Chess, where this bishop then became quite passive. So naturally he strives to exchange this, and then knight b1 was played to open up this diagonal for this file for the queen, and at the same time he wants to put his knight to d2. I hope the Portuguese Federation did not make my friend pay. Well, yeah, maybe you could ask them. I'd be curious to know how it works in other federations, but I think the Austrian Federation is like one of the only ones in the entire world basically that pays for that, since it is quite a lot of money for the federation as well to be putting up for that, especially if you're a bigger country. Like imagine the Indian Chess Federation would pay for every FM and IM title out there. Like they would go bankrupt in a matter of 2 weeks, because there's simply so many players from India who are getting those titles. Only once, you mean the Austrian Federation? Well, again, I'm not sure how it's being handled in other federations, but it would be my assumption that this is only being done like that in quite small countries like Austria, where we don't have a lot of players who achieve those titles. So yeah, this call spot structure, now black is playing on the queen side, which is actually quite unusual. Usually black is playing on the king side in the call spot. So he's pushing his pawns, gaining some space, and with a3 he made this square on b4 available for his bishop. And yeah, quite positional play. Now he gives up his bishop on f6. Lots of trades happening. And yeah, this position looks, optically, I would say looks quite nice for white, because this pawn on c6 is a backward pawn. But white cannot really attack that pawn enough, because after queen c2 there's just rook e6. And my assumption would be that this is just equal, gonna most likely be a draw. So yeah, I don't think this is heading anywhere. Jesus Christ, yeah. Well, once you start learning how some of those things work in the chess world, you're gonna have a dark awakening. That's what happens. Greetings from Turkey. Thank you, man. Greetings back. So this game again is probably heading towards a draw, would be my assumption. It is Gurel drew against Anish Giri. So let's have a look at that. We have the Sicilian Moscow, bishop b5 check, bishop d7 and takes, castle, knight f6, rook e1. So yeah, this is one of the ways to play that. Shahim Tuam, welcome to the stream. But India puts grandmasters on a payroll. Yeah, that's true. Even though now I read that somehow they are decreasing that support, since maybe also there are just too many grandmasters to support on a regular basis. Like from what I heard is that in India, many sports are basically state sponsored. So some big companies are more or less required to pay some of the players like some sort of sponsorship money, basically. Which softwares I use for studying openings? Just ChessBase. ChessBase is basically the only platform out there. But even though Lichess, you could also say you can do a lot of things on Lichess. So Lichess is a fantastic tool as well. But I'm using ChessBase to be able to use my own engines to analyze openings, which I think on Lichess is not possible. Well, you have Stockfish and Stockfish a couple of versions, but I like to use Lila as well. So we have here this line with rook e1. Instead, c4 has always been the main line, and now after knight f6, knight c3, g6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop g7. This was always one of the big lines, and there's actually one quite nice idea here for black. I think it's after, yeah, it's after short castle, f3. Now black has this nice equalizer with rook c8 b3 and d5. This is a nice line to know, because however you take, like, well, you cannot take with the pawn. Now rook takes e3 picks up the piece, and if e takes d5, I think knight takes d5 is possible. Knight takes d5 and e6, and I think that was how it went, and black equalizes comfortably. So white also can play like this to get this sort of Marazzi setup. But in recent years, this setup with rook e1 or queen e2 followed by c3, d4 has become a bit more popular. e6, d4, takes, and yeah, now we reach this sort of structure with knight d2. When black has to take, bishop takes e2. Again, I think the same position can arise with the queen on e2 instead of the rook being on e1. Bishop e4, aiming to trade those bishops. So basically what we have here is a sort of French advanced structure with, of course, many pieces already being exchanged, which probably favors black because usually the side with less space wants to trade as many pieces as possible. Because the side with more space has simply more room for his pieces. So the side with more space can always maneuver around with his pieces, while the side with less space doesn't have that luxury. So that's why black wants to exchange many pieces here. Many minor pieces, I might add. Many minor pieces, that's important to add. So takes, queen d2, a5. And yeah, white usually goes for some sort of attack here with h4, h5. But black stops that with h6, very logical. Rook c1, rook fc8, a3, and knight c6 back. So yeah, he did go a4, but knight f5 doesn't work because at the end of the day, the knight on a5 would be hanging, even though that would be nice for black to achieve, to put the knight to c4. Off-topic question, when do you sleep and when do you wake up? That depends a little bit. I'm mostly on quite a flexible schedule, but in most cases I go to bed at around 12 p.m. and I wake up at 8:30 or 9, something like that, if I can. Because I also quite like working at night. That's what I usually do. So rook c1, knight e7, and g4. Rook c3, rook c3, rook c8. Takes, king g2. So white's expansion might look a little bit scary for black, but g5 is actually not a threat because black can always go knight f5. Now this square is available for the knight. And yeah, how do you comment Anish's opening preference? Well, in this game, as in most games, he knew the opening very well. I mean, he was blitzing all those moves still. a5 he was thinking briefly, but he was never in any real danger in this game. Of course, I assume he would have liked to generate more winning chances against Elis Gurel, just because Anish is high rated. But Anish, of course, knows as well how dangerous Elis Gurel is, and therefore I think he made a practical choice just not to risk too much. So queen a5, b5, queen a check, and it seems like somewhere here... they didn't go for a move repetition. Anish offered a draw. Here, queen a7. I was thinking about this endgame here. If this could generate some chances, but I don't think so, because this knight is probably coming to c4. So yeah, that should be nothing. Yeah, I'm a knight all. I agree. So then, was there some sort of chance here? No, there wasn't. Queen a7, and yeah, here he offered a draw. Why not? Yeah, well, objectively the position is balanced. I guess there is still some sort of play here. Like, also it does look a little bit uncomfortable for black. Of course, it's a draw, but it feels like white is the one who can do a bit of maneuvering here. Like, I would be thinking about knight e1 to get knight g2 and then f4. But seems like queen e7 is just okay. Yeah. Do you like King's Indian defense? It's basically refuted at top level nowadays. Yeah, I do like it. I might even make some videos on that, or perhaps a course, because the King's Indian was always one of my favorite openings. But just on the top level, it's not always easy to make it work, just because everyone is so well prepared. And objectively speaking, there are some issues in the King's Indian, even though we still see a lot of players playing the King's Indian on the highest level. Maybe not on World Championship level, but on 26, 2700 level quite often. What does your fitness program look like? I train in the gym 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on top of that, I just try to be active on the daily basis. Like I'm not using public transport that much. I'm mostly walking everywhere I can. And yeah, that's basically it. Nothing that special. Gym 3 times a week and lots of walking. So yeah, not that much happened here. So let's go to YE against David Navara. And we have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So an Italian, which YE has played quite a lot recently. And he always really likes to go for this line with bishop g4, which tends to be extraordinarily sharp. Because black often goes for h6 and g5, the bishop will end up on g3, and then just mess ensues, as probably also happened in this game. Navara started with a5 to stop b4. Good night, somebody guy. I hope you enjoyed the stream. It was nice to have you, and again, thank you for the game which we played. So bishop h4, a5, stopping b4. Knight bd2, bishop a7. Bishop a7 is logical because in some cases white might get d4, and bishop a7 is stepping out of this tempo right away. a4, queen e7, a4, kind of surprising to me since often white wants to go for a3 followed by b4. Join Felix's Discord server. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I do have a Discord server for all of you who use Discord and are thinking of joining. We did implement a lot of different cool tools there, a lot of different cool bots as well. And yeah, this is just one way to stay a bit more in the loop on what's going on in my life, basically, and stay alerted about uploads and so on. So we do already have a very nice community there. So if you're interested in joining, just go to my bio and have a look at it. And yeah, thanks again, somebody guy, for joining the stream. So a4 surprised me a little bit, since often white actually goes for a3 before as well in this structure. Where's the Discord server URL? It should be in my bio. Should be in my bio. If you have trouble finding it, let me know. I'll just put the link into the chat a bit later. So a4, queen e7, short castle, g5, bishop g3, and now David Navara went h5. So again, let me know if you can find the link. Otherwise, just shoot me a message. h5 is a typical idea, of course, at the moment threatening h4 to win white's bishop. So naturally, YE went h4. It's the typical reply. And now black has to go g4, because if gh4, bishop h4, black's attack is basically blocked, and white is cruising with this very unpleasant pin for black. Yeah, that line of the King's Indian is quite decent for white and quite dangerous for black as well. That's true. So h5 seems like a mistake. Black has many different ideas here. We often see ideas with knight h5, even though of course you always have to watch out for knight takes e5. That might work here, because knight g3, knight c6, b takes e6, and h takes g3, h takes g3, and white won a pawn. So that probably doesn't work here, I would assume. Black also has ideas with knight h7, with, again, the idea of h5, or knight f8, knight g6. That's often an idea as well, to prepare h5 without allowing h4. Those are kind of the typical ideas. Black could also just go something like bishop g4 or bishop d7 to prepare a long castle. That's also an idea. No worries, man. No worries. I hope you'll be able to find the link, but no worries. So David played h5, h4, g4, and now knight e1. And it seems like this has kind of backfired, because now on top of black's... Thank you, Paul, by the way, for sending the link. Thank you so much. So on top of Black's attack being stopped basically on the king side, since everything is blocked now, Black's pawns could also become weak in the near future. Like White could think about playing f4 sometimes. Okay, the king would have to move first, but yeah. Please look at Vincent game against Prague. We'll go there. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. We'll go there right away since it looks like there's time trouble here. So let's have a look at that. Just briefly, the opening stage, we have the Wiener, h4, h5. I've seen this idea in one game before. And yeah, looks like it became quite complicated around here. Vincent won a pawn, but Prague has some compensation because of his light squares. And here Vincent already is looking for a draw, but Prague is looking to play on. And after rook f5, Vincent might be in some trouble here. Knight a5 also a very unpleasant move for White to handle, because he has to go rook b4 to protect this pawn, since rook b1 is not possible. So Vincent is under some pressure here, also at 12 seconds currently only on the clock. And I think he has to give up this pawn on e5. Well, for the moment, Black cannot take here. So he might move the knight somewhere. But the question is where. You might have to go for some ugly square like e1, and then knight e6 will be possible, and he's going to win the pawn like that. So that's going to be quite an issue for Vincent. I'm sure he's already made a move. Hope that link works. Yeah, again, Keymer, let us know if you're able to join the server. Otherwise, we are happy to assist. And again, thanks, Paul, for sending the link. By the way, I saw before quite an amusing tweet by Vladimir Kramnik. So if some of you guys have seen that, unfortunately Boris Spassky passed away, and Kramnik was I think it was Kramnik who told the story. Maybe it was Arnon. I read two tweets about this today, but there is the story about Boris Spassky that. Back in the day, while there was still the Soviet Union, the players from the Soviet Union, if they went abroad to a player tournament, they always had a local person there who will instruct them basically on what the culture there is like and how they have to behave, something like that. And at that tournament, what I'm referring to now, Boris Spassky was in the Netherlands. And when he went to this sort of meeting to meet this Soviet official, basically, that was about to tell him about what to do in the Netherlands, how the culture is like and how he should behave, then Boris said, just simply said, he knows, well, I know how to play the Dutch defense, so I should be fine. So I found that story to be kind of a cute little reminder of how funny and just how much of a charming person Boris Spassky was in life, at least from what I heard, basically. So he passed away with age of 88, as far as I heard. And we have some action here now. The 40th move was played. So Vincent played knight d4, has to give up the pawn, and now c4 and rook b5. So White's rook is in a lot of trouble. In general, now he's attacking the pawn on d5, but I wonder also what happens after d takes c4. I guess he has to go for b4, but oh, he cannot do that, right? Like knight b3 takes, and maybe he's trying to defend this position. That could be one option. But let's see what Prague comes up with. So from my human judgment, this is not looking good for Vincent, unfortunately. So let's see where things actually went wrong, because around here it should have been quite nice, but it's actually not that clear. Yeah? Black does have pretty good compensation overall, even though the... Yeah, if he takes, yeah, it seems like this might have even been a mistake. Rook a3 is strong. It seems like just to have rook c3 as an option. Because now after rook c8, c3, queen c4, I would even take black's position. He has this very nice control of the dark squares, and all of a sudden also gets the h file. Yeah, and already here it's completely understandable that Vincent is feeling the pressure around here. Knight c6, bishop e3, and already here knight a5 was in the picture. So apparently Vincent has this takes and a5. That's an opportunity for white to get some counterplay, but also not easy to spot, of course. And yeah, now knight a5 was just crushing, and yeah, here white's just completely lost. So that will put Prague in the absolute lead, I think. Let's see how the... No, he's gonna share first with Aravindh. That's how it's gonna be. By the way, Aravindh made a draw. We're gonna just talk about that, and then we can go back to Vaiyi's game. So let's do it like that. So Aravindh played e4. We have we have another Moscow. Yeah, that was this game. So not going for the open Sicilian, but like Edis Gurel, Aravindh went for bishop e5 check, and Sam went for the other main move, knight d7. Giri played bishop d7. Knight d7, a4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, and now bishop e2, which is quite a popular line as well. It was first recommended by Wesley So in his e4 repertoire for chessable. And the point of this whole business now, it does look a little bit strange to lose a tempo with the bishop development. But actually the knight on d7 is quite misplaced now. It would much rather be on c6 because it's also blocking black's bishop from developing. So now black has to go for a different plan with b6, followed by bishop b7. d4, c takes d4, queen takes d4, and quite a typical Sicilian structure. Knight g4. I think this is still a kind of sort of theory here. Also, both players being quite fast. Knight e5, rook d2. And Sam went for the immediate strike in the center with d5. I guess black could also always consider ideas like g5. Or even bishop e7 sometimes is an idea, even going for stuff like that. But here it looks dangerous because white might be able to play rook d1 and perhaps capture on d6. So d5 was played, bishop g3. I guess if e takes d5, his idea might have been bishop c5 as well. Yeah, the name of the line is the Moscow variation. So if e takes d5, I'm just checking what's going on here. Bishop c5, I was thinking about queen e4 here. Oh, but f5 is there. Whew. And all of a sudden the queen is kind of running out of squares. So queen f4 is how the line goes, g5. This is way too complicated for me. Knight g5, h g5, bishop g5, or queen g5. Yeah, total mess here. But I can understand why Aravindh didn't like to go there. Not obvious at all. Whenever I see a game in this opening bishop e5 check, knight d7 a4 line, black somehow gets a more pleasant position in the end. Yeah, it's not always like that. Like in some cases it goes like that, but also I've seen many games where black is in some trouble. Yeah? Like if black also doesn't know b6, let's say he goes g6, then a5 often is a little bit unpleasant. And while this is still sort of a theoretical line, when black goes for a structure like this, but practically speaking, I think that white is doing quite well here just because he has the better pawn structure. Or perhaps knight b6 is a little bit better. So it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Anyway, after d5, he played bishop g3, pinning the knight on e5, bishop c5, bishop e5, and we have a lot of exchanges. Take here, and knight d4. Pawn on a6 is weak as well. Of course, c3 will also fall. King c7, bishop a6, knight c5. Not in a rush to take the pawn on c3 just yet, because he wants to take with the knight. Knight e4, knight takes c3. So we have a lot of exchanges here. Rook e5, knight c3, and I guess nothing that much happened anymore. Okay, he traded here. So black was pushing a little bit here. Aravindh just wanted to clear things, basically exchange some pieces and go for this endgame with a pawn down, but it is very much in the drawing margin, and almost everyone will hold that draw on the Grandmaster level. And here they agreed for a draw. So yeah, let's see if anything happened in this game. Yeah, so Vincent is gonna be very upset, of course, now after the time control, thinking, what have I done? So that's that's unpleasant here, because he definitely had good chances in this game as well. As I'm thinking of making a career in chess, can you give me idea of how much league like Bundesliga, French League, or ECC pays for 25-50 level players? It certainly depends on your abilities to negotiate, I would say, because you often have players of same strength and one player is getting much more than the other, simply because the negotiation skills are so important. Like if you don't negotiate with the owner of the club or the finance person in the club, they will just say a price and you say okay. And yeah, sometimes this is simply not so much as you could get if you would negotiate a bit more. Of course, you need to stay realistically. Yeah, you cannot ask for 1 million euros per game. Yeah, not even if you're Magnus. But you know what I mean. So negotiation skills are important. But in general, if you're a grandmaster around 25-50, certainly depends on the leagues. Like in some leagues, they're gonna pay much more. But for example, German Liga, German League, French League, I guess you can expect somewhere between 200 and 300 euros. That's maybe 250 to 350 euros. Yeah, let's make it a broader range, 200 to 350. I would, that would be my guess. Gonna be quite hard to make 350 or even more than that as a 25-50 players per game, I'm saying. So yeah, Wei won. Let's just see how that concluded. H5, H4, G4, 91. So again, that was a bit rushed here, it seems. 250 euros per game, yeah, that sounds about right. If you're a 25-50 player, I think that's what you can, in most cases, get. Again, it highly depends on the league and on your negotiation skills. Short castle, knight c2, king g7, and the position is already quite bad. Rook e1, not the best move, but looks quite logical, since I don't think white wants to go knight e3, since now black could take, and now the pawn structure is broken. Even though also something like this is very much playable, but I think white doesn't want to allow that. So, but rook e1 looks logical to prepare knight f1, knight e3. I'm wondering what is better than that. Well, it is the best move, and knight e3, as I said, I think would be inaccurate, even though also here the computer gives quite a large advantage, which is a little bit shocking to me. But yeah, so knight e3 right away would have also been good, but again, rook e1 looks nice to get knight f1, and Navara went for f5 to look for a counterplay. Otherwise, if knight e3 comes, knight f5 is always there, knight d5 is always there, so it makes sense he's looking for active play. Takes, knight h6, knight e3. So I guess if bishop f5, then d4 was Wei's idea, when all of a sudden all the lines are opening up towards black's king. So knight h6, he wants to take with the knight on f5, takes, but still d4 was played. Bishop c2, queen c2, and already black is completely winning here, it seems. Rook e4. The light squares are overall quite weak here. Black is missing the light square bishop. And I guess white is just going to play rook e1 next, as he did after e4, rook e1. Take on c3, take back, queen f5, bishop d3. And white is just fully launching the attack here. And black is basically opens queen f4 and he resigns. So quite an unlucky day for David Navara, who usually never loses like this. Like his theoretical knowledge is very, very good. He's a very solid player overall. So yeah, I'm sorry that something like this happened to him today, since yeah, I very much admire his playing style and playing strength. Any update in Nguyen's game? Looks like nothing much happened. I think they will most likely go for a repetition of moves. Maybe Van can try to play for f3, e4, but I think it will be more risky than doing anything good for him. In Vaiyi's game, black should have played knight h7 after h5, h4. Yeah, that's an option as well. Let's just go there. That's also what I was saying before. Like after h4, knight h7 here would be one idea, because you don't really want to fix the structure yet with black. So knight h7 would be an idea here. With, again, as you said, this idea, knight f8, knight g6. It might also be an idea here, just before playing h5, to get the knight to g6 to support the attack. So yeah, that's the idea here. My father is a pretty standard 2000 rated player in Austria. Ismail Reyes, he told me about how Vincent once visited chess parks in Vienna. There are chess parks in Vienna? I've never heard of that. I live in Vienna for my whole life, and I've never heard of any chess parks. So you need to enlighten me. By the way, I've heard of Ismail Reyes, so what a coincidence. Player who plays quite a few tournaments in Vienna. So Nguyen's game, yeah, we're just gonna wait here again. Prague is most likely gonna win. Rook d1 played, but black could take on b3, for example. No, just the parks. What do you mean? So Vincent just went to the parks. Yeah, I actually heard a rumor somewhere that Vincent has a girlfriend that lives in Vienna, but again, this might be completely false. But I did hear that rumor somewhere. Not that it's anything bad, yeah. Vienna's a great city, but I'm just saying I heard it somewhere. So yeah, Nguyen made a draw, so now we're still only with this Vincent game. Left with this game. So we're gonna finish and wait for that. Gonna wait for that to finish. In the meanwhile, I'm just gonna make a short 3-minute break. So stay tuned, everyone. I'm gonna be right back. So I'm back, everyone. So there are places to play chess like Praterstern. Yeah? So there are some parks where people are regularly playing chess in Vienna. I didn't know that something like this existed in Vienna. Well, the most famous place is always in New York in the Manhattan Park where they often play chess. But in Vienna, it's not that popular, I would say. But it's good to know that these places exist here as well, where you can just sit down and play some random people. So it looks like Vincent is gonna lose that game. So let's jump to the challenges section. Let's see what happened there. By the way, also there's an open which I didn't realize where Dragos Pechac is playing. Who are the other? Oh, Ilya Nishnik is playing. Ukrainian grandmaster who lives in the US for quite some time already. So the open is actually quite strong, as it usually is. But this year it seems exceptionally strong. Dragos Pechac, Nizhnik, Grigorian, Karan. So a couple of 2600s even. Interesting. Quite a few grandmasters playing in the tournament. But let's have a look at the challenges. So there is Bjerre against Yakuboev. Funny you know him, maybe we'll meet in the future. Yeah, it is funny. Well, Vienna is not so big, so I would say I know most players here. So Jonas Bjerre against Yakuboev. We have this line right here, which is a bit out of fashion. It's like a more flexible way of playing the Tamanov. Tamanov starts with Queen C7. So a6, knight c6, bc, bishop d3, d5, and black does have the central pawn advantage, but white has a lead in development and has some chances to attack the center, usually in connection with c4. So yeah, he played knight e4 with e5 and then c4. Perhaps c4 right away. He didn't like knight takes e4. Takes, and if takes, then c5. Looks like black is doing pretty well. So I think c4 right away wouldn't be as good because of that. Yeah, black is fine here. Black is fine here. So e5, knight d7, and now he played c4. Knight b6 and c takes d5, knight takes d5. When you first look at this position, it probably looks quite pleasant for white because black has a worse pawn structure. But at the same time, this knight on d5 is actually very strong at the moment. Not at the moment, but later on knight f4 could be an idea. After c5, the bishop opens up quite nicely. So from my experience, these positions, if black has adequate activity, are actually not bad for black at all. So the computer, instead of c takes d5, preferred what? Perhaps knight takes b6, queen takes b6, and now c takes d5 to oblige you to take with the pawn, I guess, with the c pawn. And then I would like to get the bishop to d4, but it's perhaps not so easy. Maybe something like queen g4 here or queen h5, but also doesn't look that convincing for white here. Just not to take, yeah, okay. Something like h4. Again, not that logical here. Black can just go a5, a4. So he took here, bishop e4, c5, rook c1, playing for this weakness on c5. Queen a5, queen f3. Rook c7, trying to protect this pawn. Black is a little bit passive here, but now he's trying to activate the bishop to b5. e5, rook f4, and black gave the pawn, offered the sacrifice, but he wants to activate his bishop here to e2 when he has adequate compensation. Also, an endgame like this perhaps is fine because black has the idea to perhaps make make a pass pawn with c4, and the rook might have to step back as well and lose some time. So knight c3, d4, mistake, knight d5, queen takes e2, and he was in fact winning here. Rook f7 is winning because queen takes a3 and just rook e1. That's not easy to spot at all. Queen a5, b4, or rook e4. And if I play c4, what is your exact threat? Ah, so e6. Okay. Yeah, hard to see that for sure. So he took on e7 and took on c5, but now it seems like black is in the drawing margin, and here, yeah, the game was heading to a draw. Opposite color bishops, and many pieces are gonna exchange, so a draw in the end. Nemetz against Stalmach. Let's see what happened here. So the most classical variation of the Catalan here. h6 takes 95. I have played this a couple of times myself as well. White usually keeps some small but stable advantage in these positions. So black even plays on here, which surprises me a little bit. Don't see him being better at all here, and yeah, it seems like this game is heading towards a draw, even though all of a sudden black does have the slightly better endgame just because his pieces are more active, but still should be a draw. And yeah, what happens after this? Check, king e4, takes, looks like a draw. What am I missing? f5 might be his idea, and the king is a bit in danger here. I think he played knight e4. That also looks like a draw. Also looks like a draw to me, even though rook a3 perhaps, and rook g3, and knight h3. Guess you have to take now, and well, I mean, not clear that this is a draw. Yeah? So maybe black has quite a big chance all of a sudden. Maybe black has quite the big chance now. We'll see how that plays out. And Maurizi is winning against Finek, it seems. So we got a King's Indian in this game, a5 and bishop f5. Quite interesting. Oof. That looks like a very interesting preparation. So this line with bishop f5 is nothing new, I would say. There's bishop f5 right away. There's also c6 in this position, and the short castle bishop f5 is another line. But the issue with bishop f5 when it comes to winning is knight h4, bishop c8, and knight f3. And there's nothing better for black to get this line other than repeat, basically here. So he starts with a5, short castle, and now bishop f5. And it seems like his idea is after knight h4 to go bishop e6. This is how the game went. And now if bishop e7, he can move the rook to a7, attack the bishop, and also the pawn on c4 is hanging. So if white goes back with the bishop, black can regain the pawn. And bishop d5, which was played in the game. Knight takes d5, c takes d5, bishop h3. If he takes with the knight, I'm curious what is the idea. Perhaps also play for like long-term compensation, like c6, knight e3, and now something, even something slow like knight d7 maybe, or queen b6. Looks nice as well. I would like queen b6 here, even though he can protect the pawn with knight f3. Just playing long-term, yeah, a4. And it seems like black is okay. So c takes d5 was playing the game, bishop h3, rook e1, and rook b7. So around here ended Maurizi's preparation, c6. Oliver, welcome as a supporter. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really hope you appreciate, really hope you enjoy the stream. Really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. So yeah, this line looks quite interesting against the G3 Kings Indian. I wonder what the theoreticians will come up here. So bishop b7, of course, whoops, is a very logical move. Also d5 should be considered, bishop d7. But I guess here black is gonna put his knight to c5 and argue that he's alright there. Isn't this much better for white? Well, probably he will have, objectively speaking, some advantage, but I think it's quite a nice practical idea. Because the point of bishop f5 is to get knight e4. Like, let's say white plays rook e1 here, I would assume that knight e4 is the idea. And if white takes this bishop, then black is usually totally okay. Again, black has less space, and therefore he would like to exchange minor pieces. And now the bishop on e4 is just quite annoying, so in many cases, white would even have to exchange this, but then black can have c5, e5, or d5, all with enough activity, I'm quite sure. So that's the whole point here. Knight e1 would also be quite a logical idea, since after c6, castle, bishop f5, knight e1 is also the main line here. Trying to get e4 and at the same time avoiding knight e4 as well. So I wonder what his idea after knight e1 was. I guess knight c6. c6 now would make less sense, since now a5 is, I guess, more or less, well, it's not useless, but knight c6 is more in the theme of the general line. Now if d5, knight e5, so let's say e4, and either bishop g4 first or bishop d7. I don't know if black wants to provoke f3, he might. Knight c2, e5, and if d5, does knight d4 work? That's always the question. But probably here black doesn't have any major discoveries. The queen can just move somewhere. So I guess the knight will have to move somewhere. e7 or b8 are the typical squares. Here it seems like knight b4 also works. And the knight might go back via a6 to c5. So again, quite an interesting idea. In the game this happened, bishop d5. And whoops, again, my mistake. And c6 was seems like a strong idea to get queen b6 and open up the position for the two bishops. Knight d4, bishop c8 back, e4, cd5, and ed5. And yeah, it just seems like black has nice long-term compensation. Again, those light squares are quite weak, and those pawns as well in the center. Queen d7, queen b6 would also look quite logical to target the pawn on d4. Thank you so much, Felix, for the 1d4 repertoire. You're very welcome. Hope you found value in it. It was very important for me to make those sort of videos for you guys, that you have, if you're looking for an easy to learn repertoire, that you have something available on YouTube. So bishop d2, bishop b7, and now rook c8. He could also be thinking of regaining the pawn on d5 with bishop h6. That's the top computer move, with the idea of taking and then taking on d5. So now he went bishop h6, and oof, this doesn't look good at all for white now. Also, this position, white's king is quite weak, and on the contrary, black's king is very safe, because this pawn on f6 does a fantastic job in protecting the dark squares. So gf. Now, what is the point if bishop takes d5? What is the difference? f5 seems like. So he made a great call by going in queen h3 first, even though the computer says rook a8 is much stronger. Which I don't think anyone will find the idea is just to get bishop a6, but it's hard to believe that white doesn't have any good square here, like queen e2, for example. What is the point? Bishop a6. Hi, Iran. Welcome to the stream. Still have a hard time here. Now queen h3. So rook a8 seems to be a super strong move. Very nice exercise for black to come up with this. Yeah, rook a8 is quite entertaining. Idea is just bishop a6, yeah. And it seems like black will either get control of the e-file or queen h3 in a better version. Gukesh move, yeah. Gukesh would find something like this. Just pure calculation. Even though I'm not sure even Gukesh will find this. Like rook 8 is such a hard move to spot. Again, if queen e3, still bishop a6, rook e1, for example, and now queen h3. And if the rook moves somewhere to the king, like h2, then black will seize control of the e-file. That's the whole point. Playing against Rapport tomorrow, any opening suggestions, please? You're playing against Richard Rapport, so I assume you must be playing in the, what is it called? The Aeroflot tournament in Moscow. So first of all, that will mean that you won the first round, which, if I'm not wrong, happened, was being played today. So congrats for that. And against Rapport, well, it's very hard. He's such a flexible player. He plays so many different openings, has many nice ideas in the opening as well. So it's gonna be hard to prepare anything basically at all. So, and of course he's a super strong player as well. So it's gonna be a tough challenge. But I would stay quite solid against him, not do too many crazy things. In most cases, he's the one coming up with crazy ideas himself, crazy and interesting ideas. So I don't think you have to do too much on your own, risk many things, because he will for sure play for a win. So that's often my strategy. If I'm playing against someone stronger, just try to stay solid, and in most cases anyway, they will try something, especially when they're white. So again, rook a8, nice idea for black here, but queen h3 was played, rook h2, queen g3, rook g2, queen h4. So basically no way to prepare, just get some sleep. Yeah, that's, in many cases, that's the best strategy actually. Sounds good, thanks. You're welcome. I hope I could be of assistance. So queen h4, f5 was played. Apparently rook h2 is better, with the point that if here, black, white just wants to repeat, and if queen d7 back, f5 now. Not obvious, and king f2, and then I assume rook h1 when white will have some counterplay. But instead he went f5 right away, bishop d5, and now rook f1. So now the queen is still active on h4, and he cannot get king f2, rook h1. That's the issue. Rook takes d2. Just give me one moment. Rook takes d2. I still fully need to understand that. So rook takes d2 seems like the only winning idea here. The issue is if you take right away on f5, then we have an opposite color bishop endgame, and the drawing margins increase. Like if you take on a5, for example, it should probably be a draw. Also, bishop h6 is an interesting move, because the king on g8 will be forever in this mating net here, basically. So he took on d2, because now after rook takes d2, the queen is not hanging anymore, and I assume he can. That happened in the game, by the way. Rook d2. He just went g5 here, which is also a great move. But if queen takes d2, now he can take the pawn on f5, and even though he just gave an exchange up, he keeps his healthy pawn structure. Bishop h6, rook takes h2. You mean in which exact line? Is it in this position? Yeah, must be in this position. Bishop h6, let me just turn off the engine. Rook h2, I assume king h2, rook c2 check, and yeah, now perhaps king g3. And for example, now if you grab this pawn on a2, rook c1 could become quite dangerous. Rook c8 is already a big threat, and bishop e6 only move. Now perhaps d5, again you cannot take because of mate on c8. Bishop d7 and now rook c7, all of a sudden I would be a bit scared from the black side, even though it's probably still okay, even though it could be lost. If bishop e8, I think I have rook e7. You have to move the bishop to b5, and now rook b7. Double attack on rook b8 checkmate and rook takes b5. So that would be quite an unpleasant turn of events for black. So he found this very nice idea, rook d2 and g5. And now the pawn on f5 is also weak. They both repeated some moves, and finally he went for the endgame. Even though he has only one pawn for the exchange, these pawns are both very weak, and his bishop on d5 is a monster, and his rook is very active as well. So all these factors contribute to black's attack here. And f4 trying to get rid of this weakness, but it also allows black in some cases to push g4 right away. Maybe he didn't like it because of rook h2, when he might pick up this pawn. But it will be an option later on. So he started with h4, and I assume later on went g4. Yeah, that's what he did. Picking up quite a few pawns here. And I guess that black has quite a few wins here. g3 looks quite promising. Rook h3, there's g2. Even though, yeah, it should be winning. King g1, there's rook e1. And if king f2, I don't want to take here because of the rook d5, it's probably a draw. But I want to play rook e2 check. That seems winning. That seems winning. Because if you take, I'm going to take a queen. By the way, Maurizio already won. Rook d5 and queen g2. Picking up one of the rooks. Thoughts on Aravindh? He seems quite strong. Yeah, certainly very interesting player. Gained a lot of rating in the last couple of months. And very interesting preparation in general. So definitely a player to watch out for in the future. Felix, could you send a greeting to me and my friend Vicente? Greetings to Santiago and Vicente. I hope you guys enjoy the stream. Thank you for tuning in. What's your coaching rate, Auli? Currently, I charge 75 euros per hour. So yeah, that's it. Do you do lessons, or are you planning to? Yeah, I'm already coaching. I'm already coaching quite a few students, and really enjoyed it. I love the opportunity to being able to help other players achieve their goals as well. So really enjoy that. I have also been thinking for quite some time to start group lessons. So I think that would be an interesting way to make coaching also more affordable to more people. Since if there are many people in the group call, of course the price would be less. Yeah, it's well, chess coaching in general is quite expensive, but well, I have been quite vocal about this topic in general, that simply if you're living in a more expensive country like Austria, your daily expenses will be much higher. And now over the last couple of years, just inflation was quite crazy overall. So that's why I come to my price. And also, if you think about like how much time goes into becoming a grandmaster, like how much time and effort it takes, and also how hard it is to actually find a grandmaster coach. Like if you think about it, there are not many grandmasters in the world. Like there are like 3,000, 4,000 grandmasters, probably more like 3,000 or 2,500. So it's not that many, and a lot of time and effort goes into that as well. So that's just it. I think it's quite understandable, not only because you live in a pricey country, but also because you are a GM. Yeah, and at the same time, well, I totally agree. Thank you for saying that as well. And I also think that you're more like, if you're charging less for chess coaching, you're also at the same time kind of hurting the market, because then people will kind of get used to cheap prices. And I think being a chess coach, a good chess coach, also requires a lot of effort as well. If you're really trying to prepare good lessons and look for good material for students, that's also what I say quite often, that if I have chess classes, I often prepare for the same amount of time as the lesson actually goes. So often I have lessons that go for 1 hour, but I actually spend 1 hour of preparing for the lesson. That quite often happens. And then if you think about it like this, my rate is actually cut in half. So it doesn't always happen. Like sometimes you need less time to prepare for a lesson if you already have the material. But yeah. Same rate for Hari. Well, if you're a second, usually you have some sort of contract, because it's hard to calculate the individual hours if you're at a tournament with a player. So usually you just come to some sort of flat rate price. Less than millionaires, you mean grandmasters, yeah? Less than millionaires for sure in the world. Well, also more people are striving to become millionaires than grandmasters, I assume, which is also more useful thing than being a grandmaster, most likely. Same about doctors, yeah. Of course, doctors are more important than chess grandmasters, yeah. No doubt about that. And about Vienna being pricey, it's true. My Erasmus list had University of Vienna there, but Vienna was too pricey for me to apply. Yeah, especially like paying for groceries and food is quite expensive here. Overall, I think if you compare to other European capitals, I think that Vienna is still quite good when it comes to the price. Like for example, Berlin is extremely expensive. Like even if you look at the rents in Vienna, to be completely honest, the rents are actually okayish because the state kind of put some controlled prices on there. So the landlords basically cannot ask for whatever they want, but it is sort of limited. In Berlin, what I heard, in Berlin, the rent is absolutely out of this world. So in Vienna, there is actually this nice rule that if a building is built before the year 1945, then the rent which the landlord can ask is really capped. So I can tell you in my case, I'm living in such a building which has been constructed before the year 1945, and I'm paying for my apartment, which is like 50 square meters, a bit more than that. I'm paying quite a fair price. I think with utilities it's like 800 or 900 euros, which for a capital city is quite cheap. You have to say that. I think in Berlin you would pay at least twice of that. Your future plans, yeah, just produce more content for you guys, more streams in the future for sure, more educational content, and yeah, just trying to build my brand, build my business. That's basically it. And of course, reach 2600 in the next couple of years. That's another goal of mine as well. Who has the highest rate in the coaching industry? That's an interesting question. I guess some of the superstars. Like I don't know if, for example, Hikaru gives chess lessons or Magnus, but if they do, like for some very rich individuals who don't have a problem paying thousands of dollars for 1 hour. I guess if Magnus would give a lesson, he would charge, I don't know, 5,000, something like that, maybe something like that. I guess, yeah. If he would even do it, probably he wouldn't. But like if you're speaking about well-known coaches, I would assume that Jacob Argat is quite expensive just because he is such a well-known and renowned coach. Or Arthur Yusupov perhaps might also be expensive just because he is such a good coach. But not sure who is the most expensive. That's like one apartment in Lisbon or more, but to be honest, the housing crisis here is insane. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think in other European capitals, it's much worse than in Vienna. So housing here is, to be completely fair, is quite affordable, like on the international level at least, when it comes to Europe. My goal is to reach FIDE Master, but to be honest, only studying won't do. Playing the game also isn't fun enough for me, so probably not realistic goal. Yeah, I guess it depends on how much time and effort you're willing to put in. FIDE Master already requires quite a lot of work. What, $5K for 1 hour? I could definitely imagine that, like for someone like Hikaru or Magnus. I mean, these guys are like absolute superstars. Maybe it's a bit too much, but I don't think it's like totally unimaginable. Maybe less, yeah, for Magnus. Well, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Kasparov charged the most to date. Do you know how much he charged? I guess it can easily be in the 4 digits. That would be my guess. So Maurizi, by the way, won, if we go back there. Divya Deshmukh made a draw. It was a Berlin defense. Probably not so much happened here. Quite a symmetrical position. Looks quite boring. Get that Wiener Schnitzel out there, Felix. Good luck. See you. Thank you for tuning into the stream. Hope you enjoyed it and hope that you'll be back. So see you. See you. Who do you think is a good coach for overall chess understanding? Well, I can only speak from my own experience. I worked with some Austrian coaches. Most of them were Austrians. I also had a lesson, like a training camp with Ferenc Berkes from Hungary, which I very much enjoyed when we were speaking about understanding. He had a lot of interesting things to show me. I learned a lot there. That was last year. Also really enjoyed my lessons with Grandmaster from Poland, Wojciech Moranda, who also wrote two fantastic books, by the way. You can also check them out, by Wojciech Moranda. Yeah, Hikaru covered my video. I also had the live stream where I reacted to his reaction, but it was definitely nice to see that. So yeah, that game finished in a draw. Not much happened here. And Kukulos against Salgado was an Italian. Bishop d5. Quite interesting way of playing. Never saw that. And we get the structure which can often arise from the Italian with knight c3. Often this pawn is still on the b file in most cases, and white still keeps his bishop. But here black also does have the double pawns, and white has the open f file. So roughly balanced position. c5, quite logical. G5 points out the computer, but yeah, G5 is an idea which you can often play, but here after D4 it doesn't seem obvious for black what to do. Maybe G4, HG4, knight G4 could be an idea. How much hourly rate for Berkes? Again, I had like an agreement with him for we worked for a whole week then. Not sure what he charges for an hourly rate, but he was a 2700 Super Grandmaster as well, so I'm sure he has his fair price as well. But I can definitely recommend him as well. I guess you would have to contact him personally to find that out. Magnus's parents had to find a sponsor to pay for Kasparov lessons. Yeah, I'm not surprised about that. I'm sure Kasparov was quite expensive then. Even though it would be interesting to know how much exactly he charged. So c5, b3, castle queen e1, quite a typical idea to bring the queen over to the queen side. Usually the idea is knight h4, knight f5. Yeah, Berkes is a very interesting player and very strong understanding as well. g4, also typical idea, trying to get queen g3 and then possibly launch a pawn storm. c6, queen g3, f6, stopping g5 for now, rook f2, and black played in the center with d5. All looks quite logical, e4, d4, knight e2, some sort of King's Indian structure all of a sudden, even though black has more pawns on the king side than white does here. And white's pawns on the queen side are not really useful here. h4, g5, going for the blockade. And I guess that now many pieces exchanged. And here the players went for the repetition of moves. So also not that much happened in this game. Seems like Stahlmach is winning against Joachim Nemetz. So after knight e4, knight h3, by the way, right away worked. So that was the issue. I was pointing out rook a3 before and this. I was curious if this is such a clear draw. fg, knight h3, takes and takes. Yeah, seems like white has enough drawing chances here. How to contact him? He's not on Leech's coaches. I'm not entirely sure. I guess you would have to search the web, perhaps message him on Facebook or other means. So yeah, seems like this was the final mistake. Knight e4, h takes g5 is probably the the only way to secure a draw. And after f5, white has to find knight c4. Otherwise, rook a3 would be a big issue. So knight c4, and then yeah, white now can take on e5. That's the threat. Knight d5, king d3. Yeah, it seems like it's okay here. Huh? Okay, interesting. His rate would be higher than you or lower. Again, I'm not sure what he charges. I'm not sure at all. Have to contact him for finding that out. All right, so let's have a quick look at the Masters again, and it seems like all games have concluded. Quang Liem against Nguyen finished in a draw. That's what we expected. Gurel against Giri as well. Vidit won against Navara in that Italian game. Aravindh against Shankland also finished in a draw, and Vincent Keymer lost to Praggnanandhaa. So that brings us to the standings. And we see that Praggnanandhaa and Aravindh are leading the tournament with a score of 3 out of 4. I also saw that Praggnanandhaa is now in the top 10 again. So that's nice to see. That all of his hard work and dedication pays off. Aravindh, of course, the same. Quang Liem, 2 out of 4. Vincent Keymer. Vincent Keymer on an equal score. For sure gonna be disappointed after today's loss against Praggnanandhaa. Anish Giri also on 2 out of 4. 4 draws so far. Shankland also on equal score. Lost 1 game, won 1 game. Yeah, Prague won. Yeah, that was that was a nice game for the Indian community today. Well, in general, the tournament is looking quite nice for the Indian community here. You had your game against Duda. You had good chances. Blitz games, yeah, you can see those games. They're published on YouTube. I played him in the European Blitz Championship in 2022, I think, or 2021. Not entirely sure. So yeah, those games were interesting. I checked coaches on leeches and rates, and very dependent on skill, obviously, but also cost of living of your country. Canadian players charge more than others, for example. Yeah, it heavily has to do heavily with the standard of living, of course. Like as I said in my video about the whole situation, if you're living in a country where the standard of living is lower, you'll also be happy to give lessons for a cheaper price. That's just how it is. That's kind of the downside of online coaching, that you can simply get someone from anywhere in the world, and they might charge less, of course. So yeah, that's the downside. And of course, at the same time, doing lessons like person-to-person lessons, then you also have to travel somewhere often, and then you would have to charge even more, because if it takes half an hour or 1 hour to get to a certain place, and then you earn like 50 euros or 70 euros for 1 hour, you have already 1 hour of travel, 1 hour of coaching, and then perhaps 1 hour of preparation. Yeah, so in the end, it doesn't really pay off. So that's the issue. Have you seen the game on the first board in the open section? That was Quang against Nguyen. Yeah, we went through that. Quite a well-played game from both players, and finished peaceful in the end. Who do you think is Prague's second? I did hear a rumor that actually Aravindh was helping him for the candidates. So that's what I heard, and also Peter Svidler. So Peter Svidler, and from what I heard, Aravindh might have been his seconds for the candidates. But I'm not sure who he's working with now. Well, Ramesh, the famous Indian coach, has always been his supporter. I'm not sure what is his level of involvement now with Prague's preparation, but that could also be the case. Felix, can you make a chess plan for amateurs? What kind of chess plan are you thinking of? That's the question. Like a training plan. That might be one idea. I was thinking about making a video like on like giving advice on how to study chess on your own. Because simply not everyone can afford chess lessons, and at the end of the day, also like the most improvement will simply come from studying chess on your own. No coach in the world can magically make you a grandmaster. Most of the work has to be put in by yourself. That's how it is. Yeah, like a training plan only. Yeah, that's a good good idea. I'll definitely think of making a video like that. That's a nice idea. If you have seen the game in the open tournament, which is going on at the same time. In the open tournament. Okay. In the open tournament, I haven't seen that, I think. So Pekic against Detiarov. Let's see what happened here. So another Italian, and Pekic went for the more classical approach. G5. And also here knight h7. So this G5 idea is often an idea. Especially if white plays h3. Like, for example, here h3 would be a typical mistake, because now after g5, black will play g4 next and will launch quite a serious attack. This is quite dangerous for white already. In the other line, which we saw before, where the bishop goes to g5, this is a little bit different, because now after g5, at least the bishop is kind of aiding the defense. And also h3 hasn't been played yet, which would create a hook for black to use. Felix, have you put 10 hours daily to be a GM? I wouldn't say daily. Well, on some days you can work more, and on some days less. I also have to say that I became a grandmaster while I was in high school, so I had to combine it with my studies, finishing school. But I would say that what most people say is sort of true, that you have to put in as much work into becoming a grandmaster as you would put in for achieving a higher academic title. I think that's a good comparison. So he played knight h7. Eleanor, welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoyed. Glad to have you in the chat. King h1, short castle, rook f1, knight e7. Quite typical regroupings for the Italian. Black always, or quite often, wants to regroup this knight to g6. Especially here, since now black will not run into b5 anymore. So knight e7, knight g6. Ever been to India? And if yes, how did you like it? I was in India 2 times. Once I was in Mumbai, where I played the World Youth Chess Championship. That was in 2019, I believe. And the second time I was no, actually it was 3 times. I was in India 3 times. Second time I was in India was for the Olympiad in Chennai. And the last time I was in Kolkata with Hare Krishna. I was a second for him at the Tata Steel Repton Blitz event there. But so far, only nice memories from India. Always very much enjoyed the food, especially, even though it's often tends to be quite a little bit too spicy for me, but always enjoyed it. When will we come to India again? I'm not sure yet. I heard that the World Cup is held in India, so I hope I'm going to qualify for that. Then I'm surely going to be there. So queen f6, d4, bishop g4, knight e3, and he takes. So we have quite an interesting endgame. Black has the better pawn structure. These pawns are quite weak, but white has fantastic control of the light squares. Especially the square in f5 is very weak. Knight will happily jump in there. And this bishop on b3 is strong as well. So therefore, black played knight h4 to not allow knight f5. Makes a lot of sense. Knight g2, knight takes g2. Knight takes f3 looks logical as well, but white has this nice move, bishop d1. And now the knight is sort of trapped. And if g4, pawn on h6 will drop. That's a nice variation here. Have you ever lost motivation whilst playing chess? Yeah, many times, man. Especially if you're playing badly, you are often contemplating your choices in your career, basically. Yeah, World Cup will be in India. Don't forget to take pictures with your fans. Well, if I can see some of you guys, it would be nice. There were already like I think 2 times where where some of you asked me for a picture in real life, which was just such a cool feeling. Like I never thought it would come so far, basically, that I would be able to meet some of you in person. So that's always a great feeling. So knight g2, king g2, and now at least black eliminated this knight, which would otherwise appear on f5. But still, these light squares are an issue, and the white's bishop is very strong. Felix, in the beginning of the stream, you asked for topic suggestions. It would be useful to get some sort of guidance and tips of playing being exchanged down in terms of either concrete cases. So yeah, that's a thing which can arise quite often. I guess you would have to differentiate between blundering an exchange and then being just an exchange down for basically no compensation at all. Or in many cases, you also sacrifice an exchange for either a concrete attack or long-term positional gains. It's always a topic which was very interesting to me. I always personally enjoyed very much exchange sacrifices, and always loved Veselin Topalov's games. He was always very famous for giving up the exchange for long-term compensation quite often. That's a nice suggestion of topic, so thank you for that. So ED4, and black did win a pawn now concretely. So that's of course one thing, but Pechac nicely evaluated that he will have pretty good compensation and immediately won back the pawn on d4. And still white keeps some pressure here. Knight f6, rook d1. Knight h5. Knight h5, and the knight is going to f4. So yeah, some moves later black has played accurately, and it seems like he managed to generate enough counterplay. To increase reach on YouTube, you can name channel Grandmaster PewDiePie. Well, we do have the same first name, so that's the one thing we share in common. How to improve the middle game? Solving tactics and analyzing is not working anymore. Then I would definitely recommend you to get some nice books on middle game strategy. There are a lot of them. Already pointed out many times in this stream and in the previous streams that I currently looked at this specific book, Maneuvering the Art of Peace Play by Mark Dvoretsky. That is a very nice book, but there are many of them. In general, Dvoretsky, of course, has fantastic books. So if you're 2500, then like me, well, then who am I to give you advice on that? We're, I guess, same of very similar strength then. But I've always found Dvoretsky's books very helpful for me personally. Those are great. Have you ever thought of playing the Reykjavik Open? It seems really cool. Yeah, I have. I was also in touch with the organizers, but it's simply quite expensive for me to go there. They did offer me conditions, but there were still quite a few costs for me to cover, and maybe I would love to play there. Perhaps next year I can make it work. But I would love to play in Reykjavik. I was there once for the European Individual Championship already. That must have been in 2021. But yeah, really enjoyed it there, and we'll hope to get the chance to go back there again. Do you have a Knight f3 course in English? I saw you post a video on ChessBase earlier, but it was in German. Interested in your repertoire? Yeah, I did record the course in both English and in German. You can check it out on the website, on the ChessBase website. So the course is available in both English and German. Like the stream, guys. Thank you, Niels, for the positive encouragement. Thank you, man. When shouldn't pieces be traded? I can give you one sort of guideline. Usually when you have more space in the center, then you should not trade your minor pieces. If you have less space, on the other hand, you usually strive to trade the minor pieces. Because when you have more space, you anyway have a lot of room to maneuver with your minor pieces. But if you have less space, you want to get rid of them because your pieces just don't have as much space. as they would like to. So it seems like knight h5 here, he went wrong, but not easy to understand any of this. Knight e2 apparently is better, but yeah, now he found king g4, knight f6, king h3, and oof, very accurate play by Grzegorz Pechac here, because if rook f3, then bishop b7, gf, king g3, and now the pawn on f3 is quite weak, which will probably fall quite soon. Rook c3, rook c1, and it seems like now it's just a matter of technique. The pawn is just too strong, and at the same time b7 is falling. So nice game by Grzegorz Pechac in the open tournament. And yeah, otherwise, let's see if there are some final updates in the challengers. Pierre drew, Nemetz lost against Starmach. Maurizi played a very nice game against Václav Finek, played nicely in the opening, and the rest of the games finished in draws. Up for a casual 1+1 versus viewers. Actually, guys, I think I'm gonna call it a night now. I'm gonna call it a day. It's been a 2-hour stream already. I'm still gonna get some work done. I'm still currently working on my Chessable course, and I really wanna throw it out there in the next couple of weeks. It's gonna be about the Nimzo Indian and the Rogozin. It's gonna be a black repertoire, a full black repertoire against d4 and against 1d4 basically, against the Queen's Gambit. Good evening, Armin. Welcome to the stream. I'm sorry to inform you that we're calling it a day right now. So we were looking for the past two hours. We went through the games of the Prague Masters, but now I'm gonna head back to work. Gonna finish some analysis on the Nimzo and Rogozin for my upcoming Chessable course. So thank you to everyone who joined in the stream. And I really enjoyed it today as well. So yeah, I'm gonna see you in the following videos. Thank you again for your suggestions on possible videos for the future. I will write them down and possibly record something like that in the next couple of days. So stay tuned, everyone. Again, you can join my Discord server. It's in my bio. We already got a very nice community going there. If you want to see some more behind the scenes stuff there, definitely head to my Discord server. Does the Slav work against London? A final question I will answer. It does. You can also play against the London with a d5, c6, and bishop f5. So that's, I guess, the most the system which will work best for Slav players. Just put out the bishop to f5. Thanks again, Paul, for being of such great help in the chat. Thanks for the stream. See you soon. So again, thank you all. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon. So take care, everyone, and